She faces a felony murder charge and cruelty to children charge in the death of her 3-year-old daughter, Alina.
For causing the death of Alina Pascal, a human being, a child, by taking the aforementioned child into the woods in the rain and freezing temperatures below 32 degrees Fahrenheit with minimal clothing for a period of over 11 hours, causing the child to become hypothermic and to die from exposure, while said accused was intoxicated on cocaine and marijuana.
Fox
Uriha got super high off cocaine and za. Uriha Ridge, 35, and her 2 kids went into the woods near the Fox Hall Resort on Capps Ferry Road shortly after midnight on January the 16th, 2024. The kids were wearing thin clothing while in the rain and sub-freezing temperatures. Uriha and her kids were in the woods for almost 12 hours before she called 12. She spent 12 hours in the woods high off coke and za. She didn't call for help until almost noon. Uriha and her family were discovered in the woods, drenched and freezing. Uriha and her 2 kids were rushed to the hospital. Her daughter, Alina Pascal, 3, was declared dead at the hospital. Uriha and her 7-year-old son were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Uriha told 12 she got lost, but detectives found out she had a phone on her and it was charged. By the time the mom and her children were found and rescued, they were soaking wet and freezing, having spent the entire night outside. Uriha was arrested and charged with felony murder, 2 counts of first-degree cruelty to children, and 2 counts of second-degree cruelty to children. Uriha remained stone-faced as the prosecutor laid out the charges against her. Uriha is currently being held without bond. In November 2023, she was arrested for allegedly slapping Alina and dropping her after getting drunk at a bar. Uriha was released on a $5,000 bond in that case and was allowed to keep custody of her kids.
Russ, Rich has been out on bond for previous child abuse charges since back in November of 2022. So we dug into those bond conditions, and current court records show that she allegedly was in violations of multiple bond conditions.
This is a first appearance here.
35-year-old Uriha Ridge stood before a Douglas County judge during her first court appearance Thursday.
You have a right to remain silent.
She faces a felony murder charge and cruelty to children charge in the death of her 3-year-old daughter, Alina.
For causing the death of Alina Pascal, a human being, a child, by taking the aforementioned child into the woods in the rain and freezing temperatures below 32 degrees Fahrenheit with minimal clothing for a period of over 11 hours, causing the child to become hypothermic and to die from exposure, while said accused was intoxicated on cocaine and marijuana.
Fox 5's I-Team discovered this wasn't Ridge's first run-in with the law for child abuse charges. In November of 2022, she was charged with assault and cruelty towards children and has been out on bond. Today, we uncovered court documents detailing those conditions, which include not drinking and going to both parenting and alcohol classes once a month, to which prosecutors say she never provided proof of attendance. She was also supposed to be living with her mother.
Is this the residence of Uriha Ridge?
It is.
We stopped by the last known address for Ridge to find out more from those who know her.
We don't have any statement at the time.
Back in court, the judge reminded Ridge of her rights.
You also would have a right to have an attorney present with you if you are being questioned by the authorities.
As she stood with a still face with her hands cuffed.
All right, Ms. Ridge, you're in the custody of the sheriff.
Ridge's son, Elijah, was also with her when all of this happened. We've now learned, and we got an update for you tonight, that after he was in the hospital and treated for any possible injuries that he is now back at home with family members.
Now, what we know from detectives here at the Douglas County Sheriff's Office is that she was on some type of drugs when she led her children into those woods about 10 miles from here, from the Sheriff's Office at Foxhall Resort. Now, what we can tell you is that detectives say late last Monday night, it's right when the rain stopped and the temperature started dropping, she was high on drugs and walked her children, 3 and 7, into those woods from Foxhall Resort, where the family was actually staying. Now, we are talking again, temperatures dipping through the night, touching the freezing mark. Detectives say these kids were barely dressed. They stayed out in these elements. They were already soaking wet from the rain, those temperatures dipping. They were out there until Tuesday morning around 11:50 when the hotel staff helped find them. That's when the sheriff's office showed up and started their investigation. And unfortunately, the 3-year-old died from their exposure to those elements out in the weather. The 7-year-old hospitalized and still recovering. And literally just a short time ago tonight, I caught up with a woman who tells me she actually picked up Ridge and her 2 children in an Uber just hours before she led them into the woods. She says that she drove them to Atlanta and that Ridge told her it was for work. But she says that she found it strange because, again, her children were still with her in the Uber.
She was fine. They were in pajama pants. I asked them, did they like staying at Foxhall? And she was like, yeah, we're renovating our house. So we're staying there, temporarily till our house is ready. The kids were fine. Nothing really stood out like I should have been concerned or stuff. But now, I'm wishing I would have done something.
What was you doing high off coke and za? Okay? It doesn't make any sense, all right? Now, za, okay, I can understand that. But coke, and you got 2 kids, that's a no-no, okay? You don't get stupid high on coke. You don't do coke when you got kids, all right? That's a no-go. So I don't know what was going through this woman's head. I don't know who sold that to her or what. But this woman got a hold of some coke and some Zaza and she lost her mind. She went camping, okay? She got so high, she was like, we going camping. No tent, no camping equipment, no fire, no sleeping bags, barely any clothing on. They had on thin clothing. Okay, this lady, she was just, there was something wrong with her, okay? She was just very, very stupid. And, this lady was just idiotic, okay? And she was also demonic because she took these kids out there in the freezing weather, freezing temperature, high out her mind off coke and za. And she's supposed to be a role model to these kids, a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. This is sad, okay? This is sad. If you was gonna go out there, why wouldn't you at least dress your kids for the weather? Give them a umbrella, a big coat, stuff that they could, they shouldn't been out there in no way. This lady was living in that hotel out there, or that resort where she was living out there in that resort thing. It just doesn't make any sense. And then she gets on this coke and za, and then she said, let's go to the woods. Let's go camping. Let's go camping. Okay, now Uriha was in the woods for 12 hours. About 12 hours. Where did she use it at when she was in the woods? Okay, she was in the woods for 12 hours, high off coke and za. Probably trying to do coke in the rain, all right? And like I said, nobody knows where she was using it at. We don't know where she used the bathroom at during this time, all right? So Uriha was just, I don't know what to say about her now. What about her being at this bar? She slaps her Alina, she was 2 or 3 years old when she did this. She slapped her and then she dropped her while she was at a bar. First of all, what is a 2 or 3-year-old girl doing at a bar? What bar let her in there with that 2 or 3-year-old Alina? And then on top of that, when she's in the bar with this Alina, her daughter, and her daughter was 2 or 3, she slaps her and then drops her, and she's drunk. She was drunk, so evidently that bar let her in there with that 2-year-old because she just didn't magically appear in a bar with a 2-year-old drunk and dropped her, okay? So I believe that bar let her in with Alina, okay? And Alina was only about 2 when this happened, all right? She was in a bar at 2 years old, all right? Ain't no telling if it was drinking, if she tried to make her drink or anything. This lady was just out of her mind, and the bar was out of their mind. Some hole in the wall. It had to be a hole in the wall because no establishment is gonna let somebody like Uriha in there with her 2-year-old daughter trying to get drunk, okay? Dropping her daughter, smacking her daughter. This lady, she don't got a bond. She don't need to get out ever again, all right? She's right where she needs to be. She needs to stay there. She don't need to be over no more kids. And this lady, she doesn't need to get back out. She needs something without parole or probation at the end of it, okay? And I ain't talking no 25. This lady needs to be, she needs to stay in prison forever, okay? Because this little girl didn't even have a chance, all right? She was 2 or 3. She couldn't do anything but trust you, okay? Because when you're 2 and 3, all you got is you can trust your parents, trust God, and this lady, this is what happened. Uriha zooted out coke, okay? And on top of that, it was probably fake coke, okay? Let's be real. This lady was probably sniffing fent, okay? More than likely. She was probably sniffing fent and like pesticides and stuff. And that's what caused her to go crazy. I'm out of here.